Good morning, second graders. Today is Thursday, May 28th. And today our matrix tells us that we are going to read a story called Tiki Tiki Tembo and learn about summarizing. And I think you're really going to like this story. Hopefully Mrs. Lunning can read it without goofing up, because you'll see what I mean as soon as we read it. We are going to do a skill today called summarizing. And a summary is a shortened version of something that you've read. And after we're done reading the story, we're going to figure out how to summarize. We've done it a little bit in school this year already, but it's been a long time. So it would be fun to review how to do a summary, because it's really important for good readers to know how to summarize what they read. And we'll talk about that after the story. So just like we were in the story spot, here is my chart paper. It's called Tiki Tiki Tembo, and it's a story that's retold by Arlene Mosel. And the reason it says it's retold is because the genre of this story is a folk tale. We've talked about folk tales before during distance learning when we read The Principal's New Clothes. That was a modern folk tale. This one's a folk tale, and remember, a folk tale is a story told out loud and passed down from generation to generation. So that's what the genre is, and that's why it says retold, because it was a story that's been passed down and told from generation to generation. Our setting today is in China, and there's some vocabulary words that I want you to listen for in the story, 3 of them. So the first one is custom, and a custom is doing something the same way all the time. So one custom that we have in America is we always sing the Star-Spangled Banner at baseball games. So that's a custom. Another word that I want you to listen for is honored. And honored, right here, it means treated with special attention. So sometimes if somebody's honored for something good that they did, that would be honored. And the third one is unfortunate. And unfortunate means unlucky, or bad things have happened to somebody. So one of the things that's unfortunate about this year is that we had to do distance learning and we don't get to all be together. I think that was very unfortunate. I'm sure you do too. All right, and our focus, like I said, was summarizing. We'll do that after our story. And I want you to pay special attention to something in the story. Folk tales often explain an everyday lesson about life. As you listen to the story, I want you to try to predict what this lesson will be. And here is the book called Tiki Tiki Tembo. And you can see by looking at the cover that there's 2 boys playing. And you can see that this is a character and here's a character. This is their mom. And this is another character in the book. This is a picture of a well. Okay? And on the back blurb, it says, Tiki Tiki Tembo falls into the well. Will he be rescued? And there's the well right there. And on the cover too, you can kind of see why it takes place in China. That's the setting of the story. If you look at the cover, you can kind of see those clues. And kites were invented in China 2,000 years ago. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? All right, here we go. Tiki Tiki Tembo. And be listening for what you think the lesson is in this folk tale. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, it was the custom of all the fathers and mothers in China to give their first and honored sons great long names. But second sons were given hardly any name at all. So there was your word custom, and there was your word honored. So 2 of your 3 already are in the first page. In a small mountain village, there lived a mother who had 2 little sons. Her second son she called Chang, which meant little or nothing. But her first and honored son she called Tiki Tiki Tembo no Sarembo Cherry Berry Rushi Pip Perry Pembo, which meant the most wonderful thing in the whole wide world. Okay, so her firstborn son, they're always honored with great long names, and the second son's got short names. Every morning, the mother went to wash in a little stream near her home. The 2 boys always went chattering along with her. On the bank was an old well. Don't go near the well, warned the mother, or you will surely fall in. And I think you all know what a well is, don't you? There's water in the bottom of the well, and so you use this little pulley here to pull it, and then there's a bucket down there which brings up water. The boys did not always mind their mother, and one day they were playing beside the well and on the well when Chang fell in. And look, there's a picture of a cutaway. Remember we had that in a nonfiction book? That's what the inside of the well would look like. They kind of chopped off the side so that you could see what's happening. And he fell down in the well, and look, there's the water at the bottom. Tiki Tiki Tembo, no sa Rembo, Cherry Berry Rushy Pip Perry Pembo ran as fast as his little legs could carry him to his mother and said, "Most honorable mother, Chang has fallen into the well." "The water roars, little blossom. I cannot hear you," said the mother. Then Tiki Tiki Tembo, no sa Rembo, Cherry Berry Rushy Pip Perry Pembo raised his voice and cried, "Oh, most honorable one, Chang has fallen into the well." "That troublesome boy," answered the mother. "Run and get the old man with the ladder to fish him out." So you can see that you hope Mrs. Lunning doesn't mess up his name. It's kind of a long name, isn't it? Then Tiki Tiki Tembo, no sa Rembo, Cherry Berry Rushy Pip Perry Pembo ran as fast as his little legs could carry him to the old man with the ladder and said, "Old man with the ladder, Chang has fallen into the well. Will you come and fish him out?" "So," said the old man with the ladder, "Chang has fallen into the well." And that's that other character on the front of the cover. He had the ladder. And he ran as fast as his old legs could carry him. Step over step, he went into the well, picked up little Chang, and step over step, brought him out of the well. And there's the old man bringing Chang out of the well. He pumped the water out of him and pushed the air into him, and pumped the water out of him and pushed the air into him, and soon Chang was as good as ever. Because there's no way to get out of the well without help, so he was under the water, wasn't he? And there's a cool picture. And it's a picture of the festival of the 8th moon. Now, for several months, the boys did not go near the well. But after the festival of the 8th moon, they ran to the well to eat their rice cakes. Uh-oh, what do you think might happen? Make a prediction. They ate near the well, and they played around the well. They walked on the well, and Tiki Tiki Tembo, no sa Rembo, Cherry Berry Rushy Pip Perry Pembo fell into the well. Is that what you predicted? Did you predict that he would fall in there? You were right. Chang ran as fast as his little legs could carry him to his mother and said, "Oh, most honorable mother, Tiki Tiki Tembo, no sa Rembo, Cherry Berry Rushy Pip Perry Pembo has fallen into the well." "The water roars, little one. I cannot hear you." So Chang took a deep breath. "Oh, mother, most honorable," he panted. "Tiki Tiki Tembo, no sa Rembo, Cherry Berry Rushy Pip Perry Pembo has fallen into the well." "Tiresome child, what are you trying to say?" said his mother. So the poor little boy, he had to run so fast to go get his brother out of the well, and he's trying to tell his mother what happened. "Honorable mother, Cherry Berry, Rembo, Tiki Tiki," he gasped, "Pip has fallen into the well." "Unfortunate son, surely the evil spirits have bewitched your tongue. Speak your brother's name with reverence." So the poor little boy, he's trying to tell his mom that his brother's in the well, and he can't get his name out, can he? And he's panting because he ran so far, and he's trying to hurry. Poor little Chang was all out of breath from saying that great long name, and he didn't think that he could say it one more time. But then he thought of his poor brother in the well. Chang bowed his head clear to the sand, took a deep breath, and slowly, very slowly said, "Most honorable mother, Tiki Tiki Tembo, no sa Rembo, Cherry Berry Rushy Pip Perry Pembo is at the bottom of the well. "Oh, not my first and honored son, heir of all I possess. Run quickly and tell the old man with the ladder that your brother has fallen into the well." Oh, now she's in a big hurry, isn't she? So Chang ran as fast as his little legs would carry him to the old man with the ladder. Under a tree, the old man with the ladder sat bowed and silent. Old man, shouted Chang. "Come right away. Tiki Tiki Tembo, no Sarembo, Cherry Berry Rushy Pip Perry Pembo has fallen into the stone well." And there's the old man sitting there. Looks like he's sleeping. But there was no answer. Puzzled, he waited. Then, with his very last bit of breath, he shouted, "Old man with the ladder! Tiki Tiki Tembo, no Sarembo, Cherry Berry Rushy Pip Perry Pembo is at the bottom of the well." "Miserable child, you disturb my dream. I had floated into a purple mist and found my youth again. There were glittering gateways and jeweled blossoms. If I close my eyes, perhaps I will again return." There is the old man with his dreams. Poor little Chang was frightened. How could he say that great long name again? "Please, old man with the ladder, please help my brother out of the cold well." "So," said the old man with the ladder, "your mother's precious pearl has fallen into the well." There they are, off with the ladder, going across the bridge to the well. And look at the mom is standing at the well looking down, very worried. Did she do that when Chang was in the well? Nope. The old man with the ladder hurried as fast as his old legs could carry him. Step over step, he went into the well. And step over step, out of the well with the little boy in his arms. Then he pumped the water out of him and pushed the air into him and pumped the water out of him and pushed the air into him. So do you think they save him? We'll see. But little Tiki Tiki Tembo, no Sarembo, Cherry Berry Rushy Pip Perry Pembo had been in the water so long, all because of his great long name, that the moon rose many times before he was quite the same again. Because remember, it took them so long to get their message across because they kept having to say his long name, didn't they? And from that day to this, the Chinese have always thought it wise to give all their children little short names instead of great long names. So is that the lesson that you thought would happen in this story? Is that what you predicted that the folk tale would be about? And there is the picture on the last page. All right, I hope you liked that page. And if you did predict that that was what the lesson was in the story, that Chinese need to give their names shorter names, you would be right. All right, I'm going to turn the camera around and we are going to do a summarizing lesson together. So if you have a piece of paper, you can do it with me and you can draw it right out with me as I write. And as I also need you to get your math packet as well so that we can do our math while we're under the camera too. So go ahead and get those and we will get started. I hope you enjoyed that story. That's always a fun story for me to read out loud. And guess what? Mrs. Lunning didn't even mess up the name. That was a miracle. Normally I goof that up sometimes because it's kind of hard to read like that over and over. So you should practice it sometime if you would like. Today, like I said, we are going to learn how to do a summary. And it's important to know how to summarize a story, boys and girls, because good readers need to know how to pick out the most important ideas in a text and how to ignore some of the details that aren't that important. Okay? And so it's important for you to know how to be able to tell the main parts of each story and know what to leave out. And it's just a good strategy. And you're going to have to know how to summarize for the rest of your life in school. Lots of times teachers will say, write a summary about this story. And so that's why we are going to learn how to do that today. So I found a really cool chart that I'm going to show you. And if you remember, we did this in school where we had a graphic organizer that had somebody wanted, but so then. And I thought this was a really cool anchor chart here with these superheroes right here. And it's going to teach us how to write a summary. So we're going to use these key words as we figure out the main parts of the story. And it says the summary retells the most important parts of the story in a much shorter version. Because if you're going to be asked to tell what the story was about, you're not going to say what the story was word for word for word, are you? You're just going to pick out the main parts. So it tells what happens, use only the important details, use a mix of important key words and your own words, and no opinions can be included. So don't include any opinions. So what we're going to do today is I have this piece of paper right here. And I chose these words, somebody wanted, but so then. That's how you can think of a summary. That's a really great way to remember it. And so what I did is I wrote those words across the top of my paper. Somebody wanted, but so then. Okay, and I'm going to help you pick out the key parts of the story, and we are going to write a summary. So if you want to get a piece of paper and write down this with me, you are welcome to, or you can just watch and learn, all right? So the first thing is somebody. Now that means who was the story about? And you know what? I actually have another picture that I want to show you before we get to this. And look, it says the same thing. The somebody is who is the main character. What did the character want? But what was the problem in the story? So, how did the character try to solve the problem? Then, how does the story end? So that's what we're going to ask ourselves as we do our summary today. Okay? All right, so the somebody in the story. Now, you might think the somebody, the main character, is Tiki Tiki Tembo. But in this story, our character that we want to talk about is Chang. And that's because he's the one that had to go and get help for his brother, right? So what did Chang want to do? What did he want to do? He wanted to help get his brother out of the well, right? So that's what we're going to write next. Wanted, there's my word, to help get his brother out of the well. Okay? But what was the problem in the story? The problem was that it took too long to say his brother's name, didn't it? So, but we're going to use that same word. It took too long to say his brother's name. Remember that T-O-O, too long? Too much, too long. So, the next question we ask ourselves is, how did the character try to solve that problem? What did he do? Or what happened because it took so long to say his brother's name? What happened to Tiki Tiki Tembo? So, his brother almost died, didn't he? Because when they took him out of the well, it took so long to get him back because it had taken so long for them to say his name, for Chang to get his name out to tell what happened. And then, how does the story end? Then, Tiki Tiki what happened? He was saved, and now the Chinese people, what was the lesson in the story? Find it wise to give short names. Because that was the problem in the story, wasn't it? And now what we can do is we can read it all together so that it flows like one paragraph. So we can say, Chang wanted to help get his brother out of the well. Why don't you read it with me? Let's start again and you can read it with me. Chang wanted to help get his brother out of the well, but it took too long to say his brother's name. So his brother almost died. Then Tiki Tiki Tembo was saved, and now the Chinese people find it wise to give short names. And that's a summary of our story, right? If you said that to somebody, but that was what the story was about, that would be the most important parts of the story, wouldn't it? And it would be a smaller version of the whole entire story. So if we were at school, we would take these 5 parts of our summary and we would write them all in one paragraph. And that would be your summary. I bet some of you remember doing that. And I know a couple of you of your groups in reading did it at the reading table too. So I hope you learned how to summarize today and you can use that again in 3rd grade. Great job. All right, today for math, we are going to correct yesterday's really fast, and then we are going to do the assignment for today. So here we go. We were telling AM and PM. So if you don't have your math packet, go ahead and get that. Pause the video, go get it, and come on over. All right, eating breakfast would be 7 o'clock AM. There's the clock, AM. Washing the dog, 2:15 or quarter after 2 PM, because you wouldn't wash it at 2 in the morning, would you? Then you'd be sleeping. Go swimming, 12:35 PM. Remember, AM is the hours from midnight until noon, and PM are the hours from noon until midnight. Number 7, soccer practice. You should have had 3:30 PM, and that's what your clock should have looked like. Sleeping in bed, 2:30 AM, and eating dinner, 6:45 PM. And then number 10 and 11, you should have had at midnight, I am usually asleep, and at noon, I may be eating my lunch. And number 12, his practice would be at 4 o'clock PM. Otherwise, he would be sleeping. I don't think they have lacrosse practice at 4 in the morning, do they? 4 o'clock PM. Number 13, you should have had this on your clock. 1 hour after 2:25 is 3:25, and that would be PM, because you wouldn't go to the library in the middle of the night. And number 14, you should have had sleeping in bed. 3 o'clock in the morning, you should be sleeping in your bed, not on your way home from school. That would be 3 o'clock PM if you were on your way home from school. And your right math, what was wrong with the party invitation? And it should say 1:30 PM, because if it was 1:30 AM, the party would be in the middle of the night. So hopefully you got that right. All right, your assignment for today for math, we are almost done with our telling time chapter. This is our review. So here are your words: hour, AM, half hour, PM, quarter hour, digital, minute, analog. So I'll quickly read these, and you don't have to do it with me right now. Just go ahead and fill it in later. So I'm going to go pretty fast. Number 1, the long hand on an analog clock is the blank hand. The short hand on an analog clock is the blank hand. Ooh, we talked about those, didn't we? Look back in your math pages if you need help. Number 3, 15 minutes is a blank. 30 minutes is a blank. Number 5, a clock that uses hands to show the time is in blank clock. And a clock that uses numbers to show the time is a blank clock. Number 7, the hours from noon to midnight are blank. And the hours from midnight to noon are blank. Ooh, we just talked about that today. All right. On the back, you need to read the time and write it. So look at the clock and write it down on the digital clock. They're to the 5-minute, aren't they? So you're going to have to put the hour hand down and then count by 5s until you get the minute hand. In the middle, tell what time is shown. Draw the hands on each clock. And sometimes it's easier if you start with the minute hand first. That's what I like to do. So look at this, 35. Find which one's 35 and draw your minute hand. Remember, it touches the number. And your hour hand is shorter. And at the bottom, circle the best choice. Would you walk the dog at 11:45 a.m. or p.m.? So you're circling a.m. or p.m.? Go hiking? Which one? Wash dinner dishes? Which one? All right, that's your math today. You don't actually have a reading assignment today. What I'd like you to do is to make sure that you just finish up your memory book. Make sure that you have all of the pages filled in and spelled correctly, and you've colored the ones that need to be colored, and then you just have to do your math. So have a wonderful day, second grade, and I will be back with you tomorrow. Bye.